Have you ever imagined living in a floating city built on sewage, where survival is a daily battle against diseases, floods, and extreme poverty? Welcome to Makoko, the largest floating slum in the world. Here you can find everything such as houses, markets, workshops, schools, bars, and even brothels, all precariously situated on the Lagos Lagoon. However, there is a frightening problem in Makoko. The waters, a vital source of life, are contaminated with sewage and pollution. This environmental crisis is a daily battle for the residents, who face the constant threat of waterborne diseases. Now, let's travel to Makoko and explore how people live in the largest floating slum in the world. Makoko is a slum located in Lagos, Nigeria, known as the Venice of Africa because it is mostly built on stilts over a lagoon. The history of Makoko dates back to the 19th century when it was founded as a small fishing village by immigrants from the Igbo ethnic group, originally from Benin. Over time, the community grew in an unorganized way, with part of the population living on solid ground and the other part inhabiting floating houses made of wood and bamboo on the water. The growth of Makoko was primarily driven by the population and economic increase in Lagos, where housing prices skyrocketed. Central areas of the city became more expensive, and rents reached levels that were unaffordable for most low-income families. The available housing options came to serve mainly the middle and upper classes, leaving a large number of workers without viable alternatives. In this scenario, Makoko emerged as a solution for many who could not afford the high housing costs in the city. Being an informal community with makeshift constructions and no official regulation, the cost of living in Makoko was considerably lower than in other parts of Lagos. For low-income families, especially those relying on informal and poorly paid jobs, Makoko represented one of the few possible options. The proximity to downtown Lagos also made Makoko an attractive choice. Despite the poor infrastructure conditions, the location allowed its residents easy access to job opportunities in the city. This caused the place to grow rapidly, attracting a constant flow of new residents seeking an affordable alternative. In Makoko, public health issues are one of the biggest concerns for its residents. Since it is a community without proper infrastructure, many houses lack access to basic services such as drinking water and sanitation. The lack of sewage systems and water pollution contribute to the spread of diseases such as diarrhea, cholera, and malaria. The living conditions with houses built on stilts above the water worsen the situation as human waste and trash are thrown into the lagoon, contaminating the environment. The supply of potable water is scarce, forcing many people to use lagoon water for their daily needs, even though it is contaminated. This further exacerbates health risks. In addition, the lack of accessible and quality healthcare services makes it difficult to treat diseases. Residents often turn to local healers or lack the resources to seek proper medical attention. In Makoko, the community faces serious environmental risks, mainly due to floods and pollution, which are common problems in the area. Since it is located in a low-lying area by the lagoon, Makoko is constantly threatened by the waters, especially during the rainy season. Floods can cause severe damage to homes, leading to the loss of belongings and making living conditions even more difficult. Despite these adversities, the Makoko community has shown a remarkable ability to adapt to the environment. To deal with floods, houses are built on stilts, a technique that involves raising the homes on wooden structures that keep them suspended above the water level. These stilts are made with simple, often recycled materials such as wood, bamboo, and metal sheets. This allows the houses to better withstand variations in water levels, minimizing the damage caused by floods. Additionally, residents use canoes to move between the houses, which facilitates adapting to life on the lagoon. Makoko is a community that has a rich mix of cultures and ethnicities from Nigeria. Although it is primarily made up of the Igbo people, with roots in what is now Benin, it also houses other groups, such as the Yoruba, the largest ethnic group in the Lagos region. Over the years, migrants from different parts of Nigeria have also settled there, attracted by the opportunities in Lagos, even with the adverse conditions. This coexistence between different groups has brought a great variety of languages and traditions. Igbo and Yoruba are the most spoken languages, but many other languages can be heard depending on the family's origins. At home, people tend to speak their native languages, but on a daily basis they use Pidgin, a simplified form of English which allows communication between the various groups. In addition to linguistic diversity, Makoko is a space where different religions coexist harmoniously. Christianity and Islam are the predominant beliefs. Churches and mosques stand side by side, and residents often participate in their neighbors' celebrations, regardless of their own beliefs. Despite the difficulties faced by the population, the sense of unity among the residents is evident. Cooperation is essential, and people share resources and fully support each other. Makoko has grown rapidly and chaotically over the decades. Unlike the central and formal areas of the city, which have urban planning, Makoko expanded without any control or government organization, leading to chaotic occupation. Over time, the population increased, and constructions arose without proper guidelines, resulting in a cluster of makeshift houses and narrow streets, often inaccessible inaccessible to vehicles. The absence of wide streets makes it difficult to access essential services such as transportation and emergency medical care. This disorganization also makes it nearly impossible to implement any basic infrastructure efficiently, such as sewage systems or drinking water supply. Another problematic aspect is the lack of government recognition. Although the community has grown and consolidated over the years, Nigerian authorities continue to treat it as an irregular area. Since it is not officially recognized as part of Lagos, Makoko does not receive the necessary public services to ensure decent living conditions. This means that residents do not have formal access to electricity, sanitation, or piped water, often relying on makeshift and unsanitary solutions. The lack of recognition also results in legal insecurity. The residents do not have documents proving ownership of the land they occupy, which places them at constant risk of forced removal. Over the years, there have been several attempts by the government to demolish parts of Makoko, citing concerns about safety and the legality of the constructions. These interventions, however, are widely contested by the community, which fights to remain in their homes since Makoko is the only accessible place for many. Makoko has its own governance structure that operates autonomously. Local leadership is exercised by traditional chiefs known as bulls. These leaders play an important role in organizing the daily life of the community, resolving internal conflicts, maintaining order, and managing local resources. Governance is based on traditional values and customs that have been passed down from generation to generation. The Bales act as representatives of the community and are respected by the residents, who see them as defenders of their rights. However, the relationship between Makoko and the government has been marked by conflicts. The government, both at local and state levels, considers Makoko an irregular area and often attempts to remove the community through forced evictions. The main argument used by the government is the need to modernize the city of Lagos, claiming that Makoko represents a degraded area that must be replaced by new urban projects, such as real estate developments and modern infrastructures. These eviction actions often generate tension, as Makoko residents see their community as a home that has been established for decades, with its own culture and way of life. Forced eviction attempts are often violent and cause great suffering for the residents, who lose their homes and means of livelihood. Fishermen, for example, who depend on the lagoon for survival, are severely affected when their stilts and boats are destroyed. Lack of proper dialogue between the government and the Bales exacerbates the situation, as many decisions are made without consulting local leaders or the residents themselves. Despite these difficulties, the Bales and the community resist, seeking ways to preserve their homes and way of life. They often organize protests and community actions to draw attention to their cause, asking the government to recognize their right to exist and to offer fair and sustainable alternatives for the region's development. In Makoko, the local economy revolves around activities that adapt to the unique conditions of the community situated over the water. Fishing is the main source of livelihood for many families. A large part of the residents lives from artisanal fishing, using canoes to navigate the lagoon waters in search of fish and other seafood. This work is passed down from generation to generation, and the fishermen use traditional techniques to catch fish, which is sold both within the community and at nearby markets. Fishing not only feeds the residents but also drives the local trade. In addition to fishing, there are floating markets where commercial exchanges take place daily. Women play a crucial role in this economic environment. They not only help sell the fish, but also sell other essential products such as food, clothing, household items, and charcoal. Often, these women row small canoes through the community's channels to sell their products, keeping the flow of commerce moving. They are also responsible for turning fresh fish into dried or smoked products, adding value to what is caught. Another important aspect of the local economy is the small workshops where canoes are made, primary means of transportation in the community. These boats are essential for residents' mobility and also for fishing. In the workshops, skilled men build and repair wooden canoes using traditional techniques that ensure the durability of the boats. These canoes are sold or traded within the community, and the knowledge of how to build them is a valuable asset passed down through generations. The Floating School of Makoko was an innovative initiative that emerged in response to the unique conditions of the community, where much of the construction is over water. Designed by a Nigerian architect, the school was created to meet the educational needs of Makoko's children, who often had no access to schools due to the lack of proper infrastructure. The idea was to create a learning space that was resistant to the local environment, with structures that floated on the lagoon and could withstand adverse conditions such as floods and the lack of solid ground. Built in 2013, Floating School was a triangular wooden structure mounted on plastic barrels that kept it afloat. It had 3 floors with classrooms, recreational areas, and open spaces for children to gather. The school not only offered basic education, but also aimed to be a community center where residents could participate in activities and events. Its innovative architecture attracted international attention, being seen as a model of sustainable construction for communities in vulnerable areas. However, in 2016, the floating school collapsed due to structural issues. Although it lasted a few years, the severe environmental conditions and the lack of proper maintenance led to its collapse. The structure could not withstand the heavy rains and winds, and its base eventually deteriorated. In Makoko, lack of opportunities and social inequalities have created significant challenges for the community. The precariousness of formal jobs and alternative means of livelihood means that many, especially women, find themselves in vulnerable situations. Many struggle to ensure their survival, and without access to education or work options, they often turn to informal activities as a way to earn income. This scenario is deeply linked to poverty and gender inequality. However, these choices can pose health risks due to the lack of regulation and protection. Additionally, the limited access to adequate medical services further worsens these women's living conditions, highlighting the urgent need for more support and resources to improve the quality of life in the region. And the video ends here. What did you find most surprising about the Makoko community? Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and leave a like. Your support means a lot to us. Click on the video that is showing on your screen now. I'm sure you'll enjoy the content. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.